Hi, this is Justin with Jar Productions. In this video, I'm going to give you an updated look at how to set up liquid layouts, as well as all the other responsive options that are now available in in5, because not only do we have liquid layout, we have proportional scaling, and we have responsive layouts. And a lot of these things can be combined. So I'm going to walk you through all of those together, we can compare them, and we'll look at how to set up elements for liquid layout. So first, let's start with this one-page document, just keeping it super simple. What would it be like if we exported this with no scaling, no liquid layout, no responsiveness? Basically what we would do is go up to in5 and go to Export HTML5 with in5. There is also an easy export wizard, but I'm going to be doing everything in the full dialog for this. It's a little more complicated, but that lets us get into the nitty-gritty of all these different settings. This was set up previously for liquid layout. I'll switch it to the slider layout. Just change this to say like no scale, and under the advanced section I would just make sure that I have desktop scaling turned off. So I might say let in5 choose, that's the normal default, and none for desktop scaling. Okay, so there is no proportional scaling in the advanced section, and in the basic section under the page format we're not using liquid. And I want to point something else out. For this particular demo I'm using live HTML text rendering. And the reason I'm doing that is so that we can see the differences with liquid layout. It'll change the look a little bit, and we could instead choose to render as images. That's the typical default. But I think this is going to be more informative for this demo. And for that reason, I'm only using open source Google fonts in this that are licensed to be on the web. So that's something to think about when you're using that option. So we could just go ahead and export. And I've actually got all these exported already, so I'm just going to switch over to my browser. And you can see this first version with no scaling. If I scale down, nothing happens. It moves in terms of horizontal, margins. It stays basically centered until it gets to the edge, but there's no scaling whatsoever. This is just made to be this size. Now let's take a look at the next easiest option up, which is to just proportionally scale this so it fits in the window. So back in InDesign, I'm going to go up to the in5 menu again and to export. And this time I'm going to go under advanced and I'm going to choose use desktop scaling and best fit. Now these came back because I just canceled the export instead of clicking OK. If I would have clicked OK, these would have been saved with the document, but I'm just running through this quickly so you can see these different options. So again, I'm just going to cancel it, but what I'm about to show you will be the export with these settings. Only that changed. So now it's scaled. Not much of a difference yet because of the size of my window, but check out when I start to scale it down. Okay, now it stays in there and proportionally scales. And all this text, no matter what size it is still live text. Right, so that's a super simple way to scale your document. Now let's start graduating and getting a little more sophisticated. Let's take a look at liquid layout. To access the liquid layout panel in InDesign, I'm going to go up to Window and down to Interactive, and then choose liquid layout. And there are a lot of different liquid layout rules. Let me select an item so you can see. Certain items can be controlled by master. In this case, I have the master page. I'll just show you. Go to the master page and select something. It is object based, and that's the only option I would recommend under this menu. in5 essentially supports all these, but I would stick to object based because it's the only one that gives you real control. And then of course you can use controlled by master when you have this setting on the master page, so that effectively this page is actually using the object-based settings. So let's look at these. So I have this bit of headline text that says in5, and what I'm doing is pinning it to the top, so it's going to stay in the margin here, and I'm going to pin it to the left. Now conversely, if I can select, a little bit tricky, but control select, and I get that sort of sub-headline, responsive plus liquid demo, that is pinned to the top, but then it's pinned to the right. And then these other items are actually on the master page. So if I show you this home button, for example, it's pinned to the bottom and the left, and the navigational elements, which are slightly hidden here, same thing, they're pinned to the bottom right in this case. And that's true of the background color here, this bar across the bottom. It's pinned to the bottom of the left, but it's also set to resize with the width, so it's going to stay 100% width, as is this top bar, which is pinned to the top and the left. So it's pretty intuitive, and if we exported this now with in5, we go up to the export menu, And this time we would export with the liquid page format. Now, when we do that, I'm going to go ahead and cancel and switch to the browser. This is what we get. So now you can see that the layout has stretched to the width of the browser. And this is actually really nice. And even the columns are live, so they're re-rendering with that live text as the columns get thinner because the whole document is getting thinner. Now, you'll see it looks okay right now, but as I get too narrow, see the headline and the subheadline start to cross over each other, and the columns get super thin, and now the text isn't even really going to fit in there. We're going to take a look at how you can fix that with alternate layouts momentarily, but this gives you an idea of just a basic liquid layout. And for this reason, in the past, I recommended people not use liquid layouts. I recommend that they use this proportional scaling because, one, it's so much easier to set up, and two, it looks like your layout no matter what size the browser window is. But same thing here, when it gets down to a phone size, it's non-optimal. Let's take a look at making this whole thing responsive now with multiple layouts. Back in InDesign, I want to create an alternate layout. So I'm going to go to my Pages panel, and I just have this one layout, which is letter horizontal. This was set up as a print document initially. Obviously, if you set it up for digital, it's better. But I'm going to show you can work with these, even if your units aren't pixels. But obviously, again, pixels make it easier. If you need to change your units to pixels, all you have to do is right-click on the ruler. I can change it to inches and then back to pixels. And the same thing with the vertical ruler as well. So in the Pages panel, I'm going to click this little arrow next to my letter H layout and choose Create Alternate Layout. InDesign then gives me this dialog, and it does a natural kind of smart option, which is the same layout but switch over into vertical mode, which is just fine. I'll do that. Let's assume maybe these could be tablet orientations. It's going to link stuff together. It's going to copy things. It's going to automatically create new styles for me that are separate, which is going to be great because I might want to change font sizes in this layout, but not my original layout. So that'll be really helpful. Now, the other thing that's really great is that because I set up the liquid layout rules on my page already, when I create this new layout, it's going to use those in creating the layout and positioning the items. It's going to copy all the items over and use the rules. So let's go ahead and do that. Click OK and navigate to that page. Let me just tuck away my liquid layout panel for now. And you can see now I have a vertical page. Everything's there more or less. Got to find my in5 text, and I'll just start repositioning things. So I'll change the size of that. And I'm working with a different size layout right now, a different shape. So let me do some things differently. Like I will take this text and left align it. So let me go into paragraph styles, and I'll edit the paragraph style. Notice I'm editing the one that is inside the letter V folder. Go left alignment, click OK. And then I'm just going to reposition this. And then I think I'll also go into the master page. It's got its own master page, and make this heading a little bit bigger. Let's see, that looks pretty good. I can move this down. And this text frame, obviously, I would like to change. So let me move it a little bit. I'll right click and go to text frame options. Change the column number to 2. That looks good. So this is kind of a tablet vertical type of layout. But you can see I'm just adjusting items so they look a little better in this particular layout. So here's my this is my original layout that's horizontal with 3 columns, and here's my vertical layout. So I'm making it fit that in particular. Now, if I only have these 2 layouts and I export it, I'll show you how to do responsive layouts right now. I'll go up to In5 and choose Export. And underneath the page range, now that I have 2 different layouts, I will have the responsive layouts option. When I choose that, it will export both these layouts and swap them. I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to add one more layout. But I wanted to note here, if I did this now with this layout, it would switch them based on orientation because the 2 layouts, the pixel dimensions match each other but they're rotated. So it'll simply swap it based on the rotation. I'm going to add one more layout. So I'll create an alternate layout from my letter V one. And I'm going to do it like iPhone 8 size. So I'll just say smartphone 375. And the nice thing about doing these is that we're making them flexible, so they don't have to, if you're designing for multiple phones or whatever, this can scale to fit slight differences. What we're trying to do is get the basic orientation and size correct, but we don't have to have it exact to the mark. Okay, so now I've got this smaller layout. Now that I have 3 layouts, when I export with those responsive layouts, In5 is actually going to swap the layouts based on the size. Okay, so 2 layouts with matching sizes, then it's going to do it based on orientation. With layouts where you don't have exact matching sizes, and since there are 3 of them, they can't be, then it's going to do it based on the pixel dimensions, pixel width of the browser window. So I'm just going to move this around and again make some changes. I'll make the font considerably smaller. And again, I'll go into this master page, make this smaller. And I now want this to be a single column. So let me change that to 1 column. And it's still too much text. So what I might do in this case is to create a scrolling frame. So I'll use Edit and cut this. And then I will create a frame for it to live in. And then I'm going to go up to Edit and choose Paste Into. And I will just move this around so that it's inside here. I kind of want to have some space to the right of it for room for a scroll bar if the browser does have one. And then I'll just move this whole thing so it's lined up. So now I have 3 very different layouts for different devices. You can see them all together there. Now when I go to export, I have all those same choices, but now I can do it with responsive layouts. If I did this again with the slider fade in, and I did it with no desktop scaling, so I turned that off, but I chose responsive layouts. Let me show you what I'm going to get with that. So here's the responsive with no scaling. And what you'll see is when I scale the browser down, it's about to switch between layouts. And these layouts don't scale, so there's a little bit of empty space. And then same thing with the smallest layout, there's a little bit of empty space. This scrolls, the whole thing scrolls because it's a little taller than the window in terms of proportion. But you can see that's pretty responsive, and there's never really a moment where you can't see anything, because I've designed the 3 different layouts for 3 different reasonable sizes, and In5 is smart enough to figure out when to switch them. But we can do even better than that. So let's say we chose all of those same settings. I'll go back to InDesign and export. And this time I will again choose the slider and responsive layouts, but in advanced I'm going to use desktop scaling and I'll choose best fit. Now this is responsive and it has the proportional scaling. So if I scale this down, now this, one thing to note, it's set to best fit, so it is scaling to the height right now because of the dimensions, but I could also set this to scale to the width, so it would fill the width. Right here, now you can see it scales to the width for a little bit. That's part of the best fit, but I could choose to go to the width. Just wanted to note that. Now when I get smaller, now I'm into the tablet vertical layout, and I scroll down, now I'm into the phone layout, and I've got the scrolling. So you can see how the scaling makes a difference between the non-scaled responsive and the scaled responsive. Back in InDesign, before we export with the liquid layout and the responsive layouts, let's just take a look and make sure when we changed the layouts that we've got the rules the way we want them. So this one, actually I probably should have done this before I created that 3rd layout. Instead of pinning this to the right, I want to pin it to the left. And I'll do that in both layouts. Sure to pin that to the left. I think that's probably the only item that I would need to change, but you want to play around with it and see. So let's take a look now. If I export this, and I'll just show you what the options are. Go up to In5, Export, and this time I'm going to choose Responsive Layout for the export range, because InDesign sees these all as pages in the Pages panel. It doesn't care that they're actually in different layouts. So if I said all pages, it would export letter H as 1, letter V as 2, and smartphone as 3. Responsive layouts is what lets you figure out how to merge these pages together and make them responsive. So I've chosen that as the export range, and liquid as the page format, so we're going to get the liquid layout rules applied. And then it doesn't matter what the scaling is, because if I choose liquid, it's going to override that. So we'll go ahead and export that and take a look in the browser. This is the responsive layouts with the liquid layout rules. So let's take a look. You can see it's filling the width, everything is updating live, and then at some point I'm going to hit this other layout, and now I'm in 2 columns, the top has changed, and I'll get down to the smallest layout, and that changes as well. The scrolling frame doesn't look quite as good. I might need to tinker with that. And personally, I think this version is just much easier, the scaling. But there's any number of reasons you might want to use the liquid layout, especially if you have a lot of devices that are really similar in size and you prefer not to have any empty space around the edges or any scaling. This makes sure that you're 100% of the width and 100% of the height, and you just need to tinker with it. But you have a huge amount of control with liquid layouts, responsive layouts, and proportional scaling all together. So hopefully that gives you a nice overview of those. I will cover some other topics in other videos around this. You want to go deeper on it, please be sure to subscribe to the Ajar Productions channel and like this video so I know it was helpful to you. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you in another video soon.